Aloha. I wanted to. I started listening to this video, and I got about just under halfway through, and I wanted to start it over and do a commentary over it to kind of interpret the storyline that gets promoted with these kind of events, whether they be false flag, hoaxes, real events, or a mixture of all of them, which is usually what it happens to be. But it's a my goodness, it's frustrating to watch, but I felt inclined to at least add another version, or at least my own perspective of how we get spoken to by these so-called powers that be, and the designs that get placed in front of us, the old storylines that get played consistently over and over again, this old American storyline that is that we keep believing in because of these trigger words like hope and justice and the Constitution and America, and what that stands for. And right now Obama is being activated as campaign Obama in order to usher in this new dialogue of what is to be as far as a deeper control grid. They utilize these events obviously to push more control for their benefit, and they're salesmen. Barack Obama is he's a used car salesman, and he's a bad used car salesman at that. And he's just obviously a puppet out there for the so-called powers that be behind him, just like George Soros is the main funding element of Black Lives Matter. So you got people in the know, connected with Hillary Clinton, in the know, connected on various layers of interactions and influence. And as the story goes on, people buy into whatever storyline their level of consciousness is able to digest, given their emotional balance or imbalance, their emotional the entire persona, the entire intellect of the individual is taken into account when they are pushing these agendas. And I just wanted to decipher this like as he speaks, just say what I see him saying and what he's actually installing in the populace as far as what you're led to believe, and also bring light to the repetition that we hear over and over and over again. Because there comes a time when you can't be sold a used car anymore. It's enough. You've become aware of too much information to be sold any more bullshit. And so listen to this hope campaign, this let's heal together, let's come together, and we're better than that, we're this. They never go deeper than that. They never go deeper than the TV dinner. So
because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character. And character, hope.
And that's it.
Sometimes
That's the program. They tell you this program.
are hard to see.
They are part of these programs.
Right now, those words test us.
They keep that. That's a low vibration to learn.
Because the people of Dallas,
only by challenge and
people across the country are suffering.
To create perseverance. There's no intellect there. There's no
We're here to honor
consciousness.
the memory and mourn the loss of 5 fellow Americans.
It's a victimization program that gets amplified
to grieve with their loved ones,
in order to validate having
to
controllers.
support this community,
And these
to pray for the wounded,
politicians
try and find some meaning
play your emotional
amidst our sorrow.
heartstrings with these events
For the men and women who protect and serve the people of Dallas,
in order to push a bureaucratic
last
agenda
Thursday began like any other day.
that takes your power away and gives more power to
Like
them.
most Americans, each day you get up,
They're just like you.
probably have too quick a breakfast,
Here it is. Like, this is
kiss your
you.
family goodbye.
These
you head to
5 were Americans like you.
But your work and the work of police officers across the country is like no other. For the moment you put on that uniform,
See, he plays both sides,
you have answered a call,
both orchestrated
At any
events. Black Lives Matter and
even in the briefest interaction,
these
they put your life
events.
in harm's way. Lauren Aarons, he answered that call.
And they play the
So did his wife, Katrina.
they play the drama.
Not only because she was
genre.
the spouse of a police officer, but because she's a detective on the force.
It's like you're a bad
have 2
person
kids.
if you don't feel
Lauren
bad.
took them fishing.
Like
Used to proudly go to their school in uniform.
he's trying to make you feel. They make you feel. They bring you
Night
all the way down
before
in order
he
to
died,
bring you up.
He bought dinner for a homeless man.
Not for you to empower yourself.
And the next night, Katrina had to
You
tell
are brought down by false
their
flags,
children that their dad was gone.
hoaxes, and mixtures of real events
They don't get it yet.
in order to be brought up by
Grandma's-
your rulers, your
don't know.
controllers.
What to do quite yet.
And these old systems, these old, like the old police
Michael
department,
Kroll answered that call. His mother said he knew the dangers of the job, but he never shied away from his duty.
is the old slave catching program.
He
It's
came
like
1,000
they keep
miles from his home state of Michigan
referring back to
be
the
a cop in Dallas,
Constitution.
telling his family, this is something I wanted to do.
And this is what Alex Jones
Last year, he brought his girlfriend back to Detroit for
is
Thanksgiving.
out there to do. It's like to hold
It was the
on
last time he'd see his family.
to those limited foundations, those limited roots. Like, this is America.
Michael Smith answered that call.
We won't have our flag taken by corporations. We won't have our flag taken by globalists.
And over almost 30 years working for the Dallas Police Association,
It's a whole emotional
gave
grid.
him the appropriately named Cops Cop Award.
They just play it differently. So since your heartstrings
A man
can
of
be
deep
played
faith. When he was off duty,
by your
he could be
trust
found at church
in this
or playing
individual
softball with his 2 girls.
that you still believe in, named Barack
Hey.
Obama,
His girls have lost their day,
because he's
for God has called
the
Michael.
first black president. Like, things are changing. He represents change and hope.
Patrick Zamaripa, he answered that call.
This is a program. It's not a coincidence
Just
that
32, a former altar boy,
during
who
all this
served
stuff that's going on,
Navy and dreamed of being a cop.
we have our so-called first black president.
He liked to post videos of himself and his kids on social media. And on
This
Thursday
is
night,
all
while Patrick
to
went
just
to work,
make you.
his partner Christy
I'm
posted
not
a photo of her and their daughter
Trying to take
at a
away
Texas
from
Rangers game.
the families or
Tagging
whatever
partner
is going on
so that
with
he could see it
these
while on duty.
individuals and all this stuff. What I'm saying is that there are more than one storyline that's being played here.
Brett Thompson answered
And
that
the
call.
most fucked up thing is how
He served his country as a Marine.
these individuals
Years later, as a contractor, he spent time in some of the most dangerous parts of Iraq and
are
Afghanistan.
playing these storylines.
And then a few years ago, he settled down here in Dallas
to
for a
push
new life
deeper
of service
agendas,
as a transit
to
cop.
make you
Just
vote,
about 2 weeks ago,
to make you
married
give
to
your
Phil Ross.
power away. They make you feel
their
bad.
whole life together waiting
This is
before
what this is all about. They have no power.
Like
They
police
have no
officers
control.
across the
They
country,
have to build
these
a
men
movie.
and their families shared a commitment to something larger than themselves.
They have to build a movie for you to believe in,
They
like
weren't
a
looking for their
3D
names to be up in
movie.
lights. They tell you the pay was decent, but wouldn't make you rich. They could have told you about the stress and long shifts. They'd probably agree with Chief Brown when he said that cops don't expect to hear the words thank you very often, especially from those who need them the most. No, the reward comes in knowing
this is the setup.
that our
And then
entire
the
way of life in
transition
America depends on the rule of law.
Into there it is.
That the
Everything
maintenance
depends
of
on
that
control.
law is a hard and daily
Their
labor.
rule, their laws.
That in this country we don't have soldiers
That
in the
don't
streets
apply
who are
to them.
malicious, setting the rules. Instead, we have public servants, police officers.
And since everything else in other countries
Like
is
the
so
men who were taken
bad,
away from
this
us.
is what they're saying. Since everything else everywhere is so bad, we're great. That's what he's saying.
That's what these five were doing last Thursday.
See hear that shift? That's
When
what they
were assigned
represent.
to protect and keep orderly a peaceful protest in response to the killing
They
of
were
Alton
here for
Sterling
you.
of Baton Rouge.
They don't want to talk about all
Orlando
the stuff
Castile,
that happens
Minnesota.
outside of this.
They were upholding the constitutional
Where was this
rights
press
of this country.
conference or this memorial for all the other people
For a while, the protests went on
that
without
have
incident.
been killed
And despite the fact
by the
that police
police
conduct
officers?
was the subject of the protest, despite the fact that there must have been signs or slogans or chants with which they profoundly disagreed,
It gotta make you believe it.
these men,
This is a
this
church.
department, did their jobs like the professionals that they were.
The government church.
In fact, the police had been part of the protest planning. Dallas PD even posted photos on their Twitter feeds of their own officers standing among the protesters.
Take you up and take you down. Take you up and take you
Two
down.
officers, black and white, smiled next to a man with a sign that read, "No justice, no peace."
It'll get you more. They'll start clapping pretty soon.
And then around 9 o'clock,
They got to bring you down first so they can
gunfire
bring you
came.
up.
another community torn apart, more hearts broken, more questions about what caused and what might prevent another such tragedy. I know that Americans are struggling right now with what we've witnessed over the past week. First, the shootings in Minnesota and Baton Rouge, the protests, then the targeting of police by the shooter here.
At the same time, they're locking the storylines
Act
in.
not just of demented violence, but of racial hatred.
As they bring you down, they lock the so-called actual story in.
Left us wounded
So if you even
and angry.
uncover any other storylines or perspectives outside of what's being said right now, then something's wrong with you.
It's
That's
the deepest fault lines of our democracy.
that's what a
suddenly
lot
been
of these are
exposed,
about. They create,
perhaps even widened.
they work the numbers.
And although we know that such divisions are not new,
So if you believe in
though
him,
they've surely been worse
you
in even
believe
the
in
recent
what
past,
he's saying,
that offers us
and you
little comfort.
inherently don't believe in what anybody else is saying that challenges what he's
Faced
saying.
with this violence, we wonder if the divides of race in America can ever be bridged. We wonder if an African American community that feels unfairly targeted by police and police departments
Whatever
that feel
African
unfairly
American
maligned
is,
for doing their jobs
They never
can never understand each other's experience.
We'll never understand white supremacy. We'll never bring it up. We'll never bring the Native Americans.
Or surf the internet and
shallow.
We can watch positions harden and lines drawn.
Your storylines based on television.
People retreat
the news.
their respective corners.
They don't want to go any deeper than that.
And politicians calculate how to grab attention or avoid the fallout.
Focus on politicians. Any deeper than that,
we see all this,
it's
and
out of their control.
Not to think sometimes that the center won't hold, and that things might get worse.
Who's the center? What's the center? And
I understand.
Things are already worse.
I understand how Americans are feeling.
And they play the worst
Dallas, I'm here to say
storyline too.
We must reject such despair. I'm here to insist that we are not as divided as we seem.
We are not as divided.
I know that because I know America.
Oh, you know America? Okay, let me hear it.
I know how far we've come against impossible odds.
Oh, like the Native Americans? Slavery? White supremacy?
I know we'll make it because of what I've experienced in my own life.
Oh, you're talking about the presidency.
What I've seen of this country.
You're talking
and
about
its people,
the 2008
and decency
America.
As president of the United States.
You're talking about that shallow ass history.
And I know it because of what we've seen here in Dallas.
You know it because you talking some bullshit.
Suffering have shown us the meaning of perseverance.
And shallow roots.
And character.
And distraction.
And hope.
And hope. There it is again. As long as you keep hoping.
When the bullets started flying.
Oh, when the bullets started flying.
The men and women of the Dallas police, they did not flinch. And they did not react recklessly. They showed incredible restraint.
Oh, okay.
Helped in some cases by protesters, they evacuated the injured.
He has to play both stories, both sides.
Saved more lives than we will ever know.
Clap louder.
We mourn fewer people today because of your brave actions.
Rome. This is Rome, and they're talking about their Roman soldiers.
Everyone was helping each other, one witness said.
Rome.
It wasn't about black or white.
It's about Rome.
Everyone was picking each other up and moving them away. See, that's the America I know.
That's America. You know, keep doing that.
The police helped Shetamia
keep
Taylor.
Learning from suffering.
Trying to shield her four sons.
See, he set it up in the beginning. We persevere.
She wanted her boys to join her to protest the incidents
out of
black
suffering.
men being killed.
So this is what this whole thing was based upon.
To the Dallas PD, thank you for being heroes. And today, her 12-year-old son wants to be a cop when he grows
Clap.
up. That's the America I know.
That's America. Wants to be a slave catcher. This is all a Roman. Zoom out. Look at Rome. And this Roman event.
In the aftermath of the shooting, we've seen Mayor Rawlings.
Now they brought you up. You keep going. Ride that wave. Ride that wave.
A white man and a black man.
There it is.
With different backgrounds. Working not just to restore order and support a shaken city, a shaken department,
the
but
good American way.
To unify a city.
Like apple pie and hot dogs.
With strength and grace.
Burger King, McDonald's. They don't have this in other countries.
And in the process, we've been reminded that the Dallas Police Department
has
public
been education
at the forefront of improving relations between police and the
and
community.
Food stamps.
The murder rate here has fallen. Complaints of
you can work at
excessive force have been
Walmart.
cut by 64%. The Dallas Police Department has been doing it the right way.
Believe in what I say.
So, Mayor Rawlings and Chief Brown, on behalf of the American people, thank you for your steady leadership. Thank you for your
These are your
powerful
leaders.
example.
That's what he's saying. These are your leaders.
I could not be prouder of you.
And they use these words. You don't have many leaders in your immediate surrounding. And then he starts clapping like he's supposed to be the most powerful individual on the earth plane. These are key words, key actions.
These men, this department, this is the America I know.
This is America, is it?
And today
See,
in this
this is what they're
audience, I
telling
see
you.
people who have protested on behalf of criminal justice reform, grieving alongside police officers. I see people who mourn for the 5 officers we lost, but also weep for the families of Alton Sterling and Philando Castile.
This is the other
In this
side of them
audience,
play.
I see what's possible. I see what's possible when we recognize that we are one American family, all deserving of equal treatment.
But you don't want to talk about how unequal it is
Equal respect.
and how the roots of this
All
system
children of God.
are
That's
rotted.
the America I know.
There it is, these key words. God, children of God, America, I know.
Now, I'm not naive.
Yes, you are.
I have spoken at too many.
But actually he's
memorials during
not,
the course
because
of
he's
this
playing a
presidency.
role right now, so he's not naive.
I've hugged too many families.
His character is naive.
I've lost a loved one.
What's this on the
Senseless
bottom?
violence.
Hillary Clinton for president. Bernie Sanders endorses.
And I've seen how a spirit of
And two
unity,
camp.
born of tragedy, can gradually dissipate, overtaken by the return to business as usual, by inertia and old habits
Distraction,
and expediency.
America, hope.
I see how easily we slip back into our old notions.
The old
because they're
distraction.
comfortable. We're used to them.
And that's what you're supposed to do.
I've seen how inadequate words
the
can be
program.
in bringing about lasting change.
Obviously.
I've seen how inadequate
These
my own
bullshit.
words have been.
Yes, exactly. Expand upon that.
And so I'm reminded of a passage in John's Gospel.
Back to church. Go back to church. Oh yeah,
Let
lock
us
it in.
love not with words or speech, but with actions
Love
and in truth.
and action and truth.
If we're to sustain the unity we need to get through these difficult times, if we are to honor these 5 outstanding officers who we lost,
Lock it up. Get in there. Get them
then
tears
we will
going.
need to act on the truths that we know.
What are those truths, sir?
And that's not easy. It makes us uncomfortable.
How deep are those
We're going to
truths?
have to be honest with each other and ourselves.
How honest? How far are you gonna go?
We know that the overwhelming majority of police officers do an incredibly hard and dangerous job fairly and professionally. They are deserving of our respect and not our scorn.
These are very categorized. If they can speak on 100 categories of topics,
No matter how good their
They only
intentions may be,
expand upon one
paints all police as biased or bigoted.
or a few,
We undermine those officers
and they call that
we
truth.
depend on for our safety. And as for those who use rhetoric suggesting harm to police, even if they don't act on
And
it
they
themselves,
play the
well,
extremes,
they not only make the jobs of police
the
officers even
uninformed
more dangerous,
extremes.
but they do a disservice to the very cause of justice that they claim to promote. We also know that centuries of racial discrimination, of slavery, in subjugation and Jim Crow. They didn't simply vanish with the end of lawful segregation.
No, they expanded into
They didn't just
states.
stop when Dr. King made a speech or
They got better.
the Voting Rights Act and the
They got
Civil
more
Rights Act
slick.
were signed.
They got a black president.
Race relations have improved dramatically in my lifetime.
False.
Those who deny it are dishonoring the struggles
You're
that helped us
dishonoring
achieve that progress.
the struggles of the
But
human
we know
and the melanated peoples. It's a
But America,
dishonor.
we know that bias remains. We know it.
You don't know shit.
Whether you are black,
See, yeah,
or white,
when I
or
get
Hispanic,
sucked
or
into it,
Asian, or
knowing-
Native American, or of Middle Eastern descent, we have all
Knowing this
seen
is all a
bigotry
show,
in our own lives
it
at some point.
pulls your heartstrings.
We heard it at times in our own homes. If we're honest, perhaps we've heard prejudice in our own heads and felt it in our own hearts. We know that. And while some suffer far more under racism's burden, some feel to a far greater extent discrimination's sting. Although most of us do our best to guard against it, teach our children better,
He's very careful.
none of us is entirely innocent.
He speaks on the outskirts.
No institution is entirely immune. And that includes our police departments.
It's rooted in that
We know
separation. Yeah, you know it. It's rooted there.
And so when African Americans from all walks of life, from different communities across the
That
country,
term doesn't
voice
exist.
a growing despair over what they perceive to be unequal treatment, when study after study shows
He's trying to be
that
nice,
whites and people of color experience the criminal justice system differently.
to not look
So if you're
one-sided.
black, you're more likely to be pulled over or searched or arrested. More likely to get longer sentences.
It's hard
More
for
likely
people
get
to
the
hear
death
that.
penalty for the same crime.
That's why he's being so soft about it.
When mothers and fathers raise their kids right and have the talk about how to respond if stopped by a police officer, yes sir, no sir, but still fear that something terrible may happen when their child walks out the door, still fear that kids being stupid, not quite doing things right,
They will never address that.
might end in tragedy. When all this takes place more than 50 years after the passage of the Civil Rights Act, we cannot simply turn away and dismiss those in peaceful protest as troublemakers or paranoid.
And then they're going to channel this energy into Black Lives Matter, which is George
Simply dismiss
Soros.
it as a symptom of political correctness or reverse racism.
So this amplifies
To
all
have your experience
sides.
denied like that,
He's the
dismissed by
internal
those in authority,
amplifier.
dismissed perhaps even by your white friends and co-workers and fellow church members, again and again and again, it hurts. Surely we can see that, all of us. We also know what Chief Brown has said is true. That so much of the tensions between police departments and minority communities that they serve
Who are the
is
majority?
because we ask the police to do too much and we ask too little of ourselves.
So they push that instead of addressing the entire system. They put the blame on the people and have a standing ovation. So, oh, it's you. It's not us. It's not the control grid. It's not the boys in blue.
As a society, we choose to underinvest in decent schools.
You constantly put it on the
We allow
individual.
poverty to fester.
You are the
entire
bad guy.
neighborhoods
So you are the
offer no
victims
prospect for gainful employment.
and you are the criminals.
We refuse to fund drug treatment.
So as long as
and
they
mental
are the
health programs.
cowboys and the police officers, they're always in the right.
We flood communities with so many guns that it is easier for a teenager to buy a Glock than get his hands on a
He
computer
says
or
we.
even a book.
He's talking about the FBI and the CIA. They're the ones who are bringing the guns in. They're the ones who are bringing the drugs in.
And then we tell the police, you're a social worker. You're the parent. You're the teacher. You're the drug counselor. We tell them to keep those neighborhoods in check at all costs.
These are all the surface tensions.
And
They don't
do
want
so
to.
without causing any political blowback.
They don't want to address the
or
cancer.
inconvenience.
He's got
Don't
to
make
sell
a
it
mistake
like
that
a
might
preacher.
disturb our own peace
He's a
of
preacher.
mind. And then we feign surprise when periodically the tensions boil over.
He's basically talking like he's talking about Jesus, and you being more like Jesus.
We know those things to be true.
We know this is happening. You do this
They've been
stuff.
true for a long time. We know it.
Know it. We gotta
Police,
change.
you know it.
You gotta change. People believe what I'm saying.
Protesters, you know it. You know how dangerous some of the communities where these police officers serve are.
These are control moves.
You pretend as if
When he references
There's no
protesters
context.
like that, as if he gives a fuck. He
these
ain't
things we know to be
spent
true.
how many
And if we
years
cannot even talk about
avoiding
these things, we cannot
protesters.
talk honestly and openly.
honestly my
Not
ass.
just in the comfort
You've been
of our
running
own
away
circles,
from speaking on
with
reference
those who look
to
different than
these
us,
protests
or bring a different
forever.
perspective.
Don't give me this bullshit about
Then
truth
we
and
will never
honesty.
break this dangerous cycle.
The fact that this stuff exists is automatic proof that this
In
is
the
a
end, it's
fucking
not about
movie.
finding policies that work. It's about forging consensus and fighting cynicism and finding the will to make change.
A change that you can hope for and believe in that is of a limited nature.
Can we do this? Can we find the character as Americans to open our hearts to each other?
So we can remain in a control grid.
Can we see in each other a common humanity and a shared dignity?
In America,
And recognize how our different experiences have shaped us.
the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial
And it
complex.
doesn't make anybody perfectly good or perfectly bad.
No, don't
It
talk
just makes
about.
us human.
We can't talk about white supremacy.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I confess that sometimes I too experience doubt. I've been to too many of these things.
Get emotional.
I've seen too many families go through this.
Get locked in. Bring it back down so you can bring it back
But then
up.
I am reminded of what
There
the
it
Lord
is.
tells
There
Ezekiel.
it is. Back up. Back to the church.
I will give you a new heart, the Lord says, and put a new spirit in you.
Back to
I
church.
will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. That's what we must pray for, each of us. A new heart,
The Tin Man.
not a heart of stone, but a heart open to the fears and hopes and challenges of our fellow citizens.
And culprit slave owners.
That's what we've seen in Dallas these past few days. And that's what we must sustain.
Control.
Because with an open heart, we can learn to stand in each other's shoes and look at the world through each other's eyes. So that maybe the police officer sees his own son in that teenager with a hoodie who's kind of goofing off, but not dangerous. And maybe the teenager will see in the police officer the same words and values and authority of his parents.
That will never happen if you don't go to the roots.
With an open heart, we can abandon the overheated rhetoric and the oversimplification
These are
that
the-
reduces whole categories of our fellow Americans.
These are the failure
to opponents,
programs
but
that they
enemies.
place up there
With an open heart, those protesting for change
To
will
promote-
guard against reckless language going forward.
to promote the Hope
Look
campaign.
at the model set by the 5 officers we mourn today.
Everything, even when he
Acknowledge
lowers
the progress
down,
brought about by the sincere
That
efforts
is
of police
hope.
departments like this one in Dallas.
it's a hope energy.
And embark on the hard but necessary work of negotiation, the
Control.
pursuit of reconciliation.
Pursuit of control. Pursuit of
With
enslavement.
an open heart, police departments will acknowledge that just like the rest of us, they're not perfect. That insisting we do better to root out
Still
racial bias is
within
not an attack on cops,
The white supremacy
but an
program.
effort to live up to our highest ideals.
Never want to address them. What are those ideals? Where do they come from? Where are they rooted?
And I understand these protests, I see them,
No,
they can
you
be
don't.
messy.
You don't
Sometimes they can be hijacked by an
understand
irresponsible
them.
few.
They're infiltrated
Police can get
also.
hurt,
They're set up
protesters can get hurt.
and they're infiltrated by the government
They can be
which he
frustrated.
represents himself.
But even those who dislike the phrase Black Lives Matter, surely we should be able to hear the pain
From George Soros.
of Alton Sterling's family. We should, when we hear a friend describe him by saying that whatever he cooked enough for everybody,
They use deaths.
that should sound familiar to us, that maybe he wasn't so different than us,
This is a death
so that we can,
cult.
yes, insist that his life
It's a cult.
matters.
The church
Just as we should
itself,
hear
he's the preacher of the death
students and
cult
co-workers
church.
describe their affection for Philando Castile as a gentle soul. Mr. Rogers with deadlocks, they call him.
And they read the Bible
And
in
know that
reference
His life mattered
to
to a whole lot
lock
of
you
people
in
of all races, of all
emotionally
ages.
into this slave
And then we
state
have to
control
do-
mind.
What we can
And all angles are covered.
without putting officers' lives at risk
Whether you're a protester, whether you're
do better
pro-government, whether
to
you're
prevent another
pro
life like his from being lost.
revolution or whatever that idea is, it's all
With an
part,
open heart, we can worry less
it's
about
all
which side has
within
been
this
wronged
box.
and worry
Post-Columbian.
more about joining sides to do right.
And this is the mainstream program that gets played in order to maintain control.
The vicious killer of these police officers,
That
it
we
won't be the last person who tries to make us
took
turn
out
on one another.
by a robot.
The killer in Orlando wasn't, nor was the killer in Charleston. That's why we need police departments.
So the police departments are there to fight evil. They're our
But
last
as
hope.
Americans, we can decide that people like this killer will ultimately fail. They will not drive us apart
But what about the people
can
being
decide to come
killed
together.
by
and make our country reflect the
That
good
sentiment?
inside us. The hopes
So he
and
plays
simple
every
dreams we
side.
share.
solely America, this whole America idea? It's the United States.
We also glory in our sufferings
We're back to the
because
beginning.
we know that suffering produces perseverance.
So he said in the beginning,
Perseverance, character. And character, hope.
that's that. There it is. He said that in the beginning.
For all of us, life presents challenges and suffering. Accidents, illnesses,
I want you to stay in
loss
hope,
of loved ones.
the hope mentality. So if you're hoping,
There are times when we are overwhelmed by
Then-
sudden calamity,
then the owners can provide
natural
your
or man-made.
medicine.
All of us, we make mistakes. And at times we are lost.
which
And
is
as
the
we get
point.
older, we learn we don't always have control of things. Not even a president does. But we do have control over how we respond to the world. We do have control over how we treat one another. America does not ask us to be perfect. Precisely because of our individual imperfections, our founders gave us institutions to guard against tyranny.
There's a police officer and a lady in the back falling asleep.
A democracy that gives us the space to work through our differences and debate them peacefully.
See how emotional he gets about
to make things better, even if it doesn't always happen as fast as we'd like.
As if you're supposed to believe
America
this.
gives us the capacity to change.
Keep saying America, America, America.
But as the men we mourn today, these 5 heroes knew better than most.
It's like the John Wayne America.
We cannot take the blessings of this nation for granted.
Blessings. This is church.
Only by working together can we preserve those institutions of family and community.
He's the preacher of America.
And responsibilities. Law and self-government. That is the hallmark of this nation.
Slavery.
For it turns out we do not persevere alone. Our character is not found in isolation. Hope does not arise by putting our fellow man down.
Hope.
It is found by lifting others up.
Hope, hope, hope. So you're looking for hope according to this mentality.
That's what I take away from the lives of these outstanding men. The pain we feel may not soon pass.
Keep hoping.
But my faith tells me that they did not die in vain.
Faith, hope, and church.
I believe our sorrow can make us a better country.
Finish strong.
I believe our righteous anger can be transformed into more justice and more peace.
Righteous anger.
Weeping may endure for a night, but I'm convinced joy comes in the morning.
You hear that? You hear that? That flow is getting in there, and he's gonna let you know.
We cannot match
You can
the
hear it.
sacrifices made by officers,
That's so
Zamarino,
bad.
and ours, Kroll,
Church.
Smith, and Thompson.
This is that church.
But surely we can try to match their sense of service.
Slavery church.
We cannot match their courage, but we can strive to match their devotion. May God bless their memory.
God
May
bless.
God bless this country that
And
we
God
love.
bless. Yeah, there it is. Thank you for watching, and from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.